Hey guys, here today with another Shurigorem knife. Today we have in front of us a custom Stellaris. Now, I had done a video previously on another Stellaris, so this one right here, of course, is in a different configuration, and I thought it'd be really interesting to see what has changed because, spoiler, there have been very significant changes for this model specifically, and I'm very curious to see if this was a one-off which for the reasoning I'll provide later on in this video, or if some of these features here are what we're going to see on Stellaris moving forward. But anyways, let's go ahead, and of course I like to start with the coin on the customs. We have a Stellaris here. This is a Damacore Thor pattern blade. We have CarboTi rose gold handles with titanium for the hardware, and MRBS with the PLDS pivot system. Very interesting. Now, this knife was a lotto piece at Friday Night Blade Affair that just took place a week ago, actually. And fortunately, my friend was able to snag this and provide it for the video. So, of course, I appreciate it. Without the help from my friends in the community, I wouldn't be able to do videos such as this. So, again, really appreciate it. Thank you very much. But anyways, let's move on and take a look at the knife here. Compare it, since the Stellar is still kind of new, Stellar/Stellaris. I still like to do size comparisons on it. As you can see, it falls right in between the F95 and the Neon size, kind of that Goldilocks size that a lot of people have been looking for. But unfortunately, it's still really available in the custom and custom division lineup, not production so far. But maybe that would change. Taking a look here at a custom division Stellar, just need a titanium one for an example, but you can see that the blade profile is notably different here. The overall shape and silhouette is the same, but you can see here with the titanium versions, and this applies to both the custom and the custom divisions. We have an extract cut with no jimping, as opposed to the Stellaris, which has just blade flats, no extract cut, but there is jimping here. So that's very interesting as well, in my opinion. Haven't really seen anything like that so far in the Shurigorem lineup. But then again, we don't really see too many knives. I think this is the first time that Sergey has made a distinction. Stellar, Stellaris, very similar names, but the Quantum has custom models with carbon fiber, custom and custom vision models with carbon fiber, but those are still called a Quantum. But with this one, the Stellaris seems to be the composite material, and the Stellar, the titanium. Taking a look at the weight of the knife here, you can see that the knife is incredibly light at 3.38 ounces, so under 3.4 ounces. Taking a look at an F95-0 at just over 5, that's a significant weight reduction, and you're really getting that because of that inset liner lock design that Stellar and Stellaris has, and with the Stellaris, pairing that with composite material handles, you're going to get significant weight reduction over a titanium frame lock knife. Now, taking a look at the blade here, you can see that we have no extract cut here on the top. We do have this very functional jimping that is different than what we see on, say, the Neon Zero and similar newer production knives like the F95-0, which has this wider type jimping. We actually have some very functional jimping here on the Stellaris, which I absolutely appreciate. I've talked to Sergey about this, and he is aware that the jimping is less functional, but it looks cooler. So again, nice to see that this jimping is still alive and well on some of these models, albeit on customs and custom divisions. Definitely harder knives to find than, say, a production Neon Zero. The beautiful etch here on the blade looks really nice. I really love the satin flats as well, paired with the mono steel core of Damacore. I think it gives a really nice contrast, and of course provides some extra benefits to having a silky smooth action on flipping and closing the knife. I do miss the extract cut, something that I do find lacking compared to the Stellar. However, if I needed a knife that I was going to use, I much would rather have this jimping here on the Stellaris, so it's kind of a give and take there. Moving over to the handles, first thing that you'll probably notice is that the pivot screw is this newer type. That's something that was, I believe, not present on the Stellaris that I had reviewed from a year ago. We have that newer geometric faceted pivot here. There's also a reduction in the amount of area that is satin finish. You can see only on the top of this here, which I think is really nice. And to talk about my knives for a bit, I really don't like how the older knives have this, much wider, much larger area that is satin finish, since the satin finish scratches quite easily, just having in your pocket when you're carrying in stuff. So take a look here at this, and you can see it's a little bit hard with this harsh lighting, but they do get scratched up pretty easily. So I do really like this new geometric pivot. Something that also has been added here is the pivot collar, which is actually part of the PLDS system, which I'll talk about later. But that is something that we had not seen on previous Stellarises as well. Now, the handle contour milling on the top and the bottom is the same as what you would see on the titanium Stellars. Take a look here. Really nice kind of concave milling. It's not angled straight. It actually has a slight curve to it, which I really like. Something that is unique to other models. We have a Chicago type screw assembly here. Of course, on a titanium Stellar, you can tap directly into the titanium handles on the show side, but you can't really do that with carbon fiber. So we have a Chicago type screw assembly. Lanyard hole still in the position that I really don't like. I really like how Sugar integrates their lanyards on their lanyard holes so that they're not visible, usually on the back spacer, but it seems like this is something that will be sticking around with the Stellar. The logo on the back here is another trend which I absolutely love, and it's very interesting here to see how you can still make out the Sugar logo quite distinctly, even with the layering of the CarboTi here as the handles are being contoured. You can see the very, very many layers of CarboTi. Very interesting look. Now, taking a look at the lock side here, you can see we have that geometric pivot screw on the other side, of course. We also have the clip. The clip hardware screws, the rear screws, and the backspacer are all darkened titanium. So you get this really nice matte look that has a nice bluish gray tint to it. I think it looks very classy and subtle. Now, something that has changed compared to the Stellaris that I had taken a look at as well is the lack of the pins. Now, the pins were kind of polarizing. Some people like them, some people didn't like them. Personally, I was really kind of on the fence about it. The Stellaris was interesting in the sense that it had pins of differing thicknesses. The one in the front was 1 millimeter, then 1.5, and then a 2 millimeter in front of the back spacer. That has been completely eliminated. However, that is something that has also been eliminated on the custom division Stellaris. So taking a look at this profile up top here, it really looks similar to the custom division Stellaris. So I think that's one thing that kind of gave the custom Stellarises a little bit of a differentiation. Not that I especially like the pins. I just thought that without them now, it kind of reminds me of the custom division Stellaris. Now, of course, we have that inset liner lock that I had talked about previously. This is a solid piece of steel, really nice satin finishing on the inside, something that is a little bit hard to make out here at this angle. But I also had noticed that there is no locating pin on the inside here that the custom Stellaris that I had taken a look at last time did. There were a couple pins here that helped to secure the lock bar to the handle, in addition to the 2 screws that also secure the inset liner lock to the handle. Those pins, I believe, were probably to help it from rotating, similar to what we see on the clip of Sugar knives. That's something that was missing. I just found that interesting. I actually don't know if the custom Stellaris does not have those locating pins to aid in centering the lock bar along with the screws, but something that I do definitely remember not being there. Another thing that has changed for this specific model is the addition of MRBS as opposed to double row roller bearings. Now, of course, most of Sergey's customs have been on rollers, the vast majority of them being double row rollers. We do have some knives on pivot bushing washers, but I believe it's been quite a long time since we've seen a custom on MRBS. There was the custom icebreaker that was done as a run of 12 knives where 2 of them were MRBS, but having kind of this one-off knife right here where the decision was to put MRBS is quite interesting, and Sergey said that he wanted to experiment with it. Perhaps that means he is hinting at a production model of the Stellaris. I can't see why else you would want to experiment with MRBS, but the MRBS itself is not the typical Shirogura MRBS, which is kind of the 3 lines of spirals. I'll post a picture in the description comparing or with the MRBS bearing cage on this knife, but it kind of looks like a scaled down version of the Icebreaker MRBS cage, which has an intense number of balls. So unique MRBS, but it is MRBS, and perhaps maybe that's hinting towards a production Stellaris. Very interesting. Lastly, I want to talk about the PLDS system. This seems to have the standard PLDS, the PLDS 1.0 system that we've seen also in the Custom Division Hati Magnetic. What this means is that the pivot collar, this is not just for visual appeal. It actually extends through the handles and then acts as a cage for the bearings to ride on. What this means is having the bearing race slash pivot collar, these single piece assemblies being press fit into a counterbore on the carbon fiber handles and then glued in place means you get very exacting tolerances. And now the screws also have a hard metal contact, hard shoulder of metal when you're tightening this down. This helps to alleviate some of the tolerance stacking that you get with knives where there's carbon fiber on both sides or one side, such as the Hati, where the carbon fiber will kind of compress. And it's really nice tightening the pivot screw on this knife as you get a really nice hard stop like you do on a F95. That's really the purpose of the PLDS system. If you want to hear a little bit more about that, I believe I talk about it in my Hati Magnetic and also Hatium video where the PLDS system debuted. We're now on the 3.0 iteration, which hopefully I'll be able to take a look at in the future. But it basically, the Cliff Notes is kind of helps alleviate tolerance stacking with carbon fiber knives. And it's just plain cool. Really nice to see that the pivot collars here, that's part of your bearing system. Really cool. Anyways, I think I've talked enough about this one today. Really nice piece here. And really wondering if this is going to be how the custom Stellarises will look in the future, probably with double row roller bearings instead of MRBS. But curious to see, the pins being eliminated, stuff like that, if that's going to continue on, or if we're going to see the return to the old Stellar design. And this was kind of a one-off kind of experimentation that was available for the show. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next time. Have a great day.